All right, everybody. We are so fortunate. Today we have a true rock star. Carolina Gonzalez is amazing. She has an incredible career. She's worked with everybody, actual little rock stars, all the top models. I feel like every supermodel thinks of you as like their big sister in a way, or kind of like their, you know what I
Like a
mean?
mama.
Like the mom. I love it.
I used to be the sister.
You're like, I've aged out. No, for sure. I feel like you're one of those women, like you have one of the most like a career that everybody wants to have, basically. I just feel like your career is so
Really, I
incredible.
wish my bank account reflected that, David.
I
I really do.
know. I know. Don't I know it? Don't I know it? I'm like, oh my God, how come? Why don't these things match?
You know what it is? Is that for me, like, especially now that I have kids and stuff, but always, as long as I never needed anything,
Mm.
I was always cool. You know what I mean? And like, that's where my money goes. So like whatever would fill me, first, make sure, of course, you got everything paid. And then like, if I wanted to take classes to like whatever, you know what I mean? And now with kids, as long as my kids are good, I'm good. I never think of like, oh my God, I can't buy that. I can't buy. I'm just like, you want that? Okay, we got it. Okay, that.
We'll figure
Okay.
it out.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And honestly, you've always, um, I think there's something really enigmatic in that about you that draws people to you. You've always been the kind of person that I feel like you've always worked. You've always done well. It's always you're not someone that I've ever worried about, if I'm honest, just because I always felt like you're gonna be fine. You know what I mean? Like and it's not
Because
just that your work is amazing, it's that you're so
thanks,
much fun on
Dave.
set to be with,
Yeah.
or on trips. We've done trips and they've been incredible, hysterical.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
it's so
But for me, it's like I've always been working with, well, obviously not with like what I do now, but I've always had a job since I was 12.
wow, really. So you just
Whether
like
it was
popped out
working
working.
papers. I did. You know what it is? My parents were immigrants.
Where are they
Okay.
from?
And from Ecuador. And my parents were immigrants. And, my two older brothers and my sister, they were immigrants as well. So we
Mm,
were illegal here. And then my brother Ivan is the one that was born here first, and then me. So he gave my parents their residency. Like my parents were definitely dodging, like, they
wow.
were dodging immigration. My mom would tell me, she was like, they'd be knocking, and we were coming down the fire escape, and we
Just whispering to each other, "La migra," and then running.
La migra.
Wow.
And my we lived with my grandma, so we all like in a one bedroom. And it was
Mm,
5 kids and my 2 parents and my grandma. So, my grandma had her bedroom and we would sleep like in a living room. We would sleep one on top of the other. Like, you know,
yeah.
so, I come from very humble beginnings. And so I always saw my parents struggle. And they had definitely at minimum 2 jobs.
Wow.
And so I was that kid. I was very empathetic, very observant, very, that's always been me. And
Mhm.
I used to be made fun of, believe it or not, because I was overly empathetic. And now I just own it. It took me up until like, my late 30s, early 40s to just own everything that I am. You
Who
know what I
you are,
mean?
how you are.
Yeah, no
Wow.
apologies,
Yeah.
because I've always known who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've always known like where I've come from,
Yeah.
from that, from coming from nothing, you
Wow.
know, and just always knowing like I still have family that doesn't really have that much back in Ecuador.
Mhm.
So, I've always had perspective. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So when I was like, I saw my parents having so many jobs, it's like, you know what? I'll at least get a job. I used to go around all the bodegas and like,
Yeah.
like all those shops and be like, do you need somebody? Do you need somebody? So before working papers were like, that's how old I am.
Wow.
So this guy at the cleaners was like, sure, you could take the orders. It was called Iron Horse Cleaners in Brentwood, New York, because I'm born and raised here. And I even painted a mural outside and it's still kind of washed away and it's still there, believe it
No
or not.
way.
Yeah,
That's
it's awesome. I
unbelievable.
got to go take a picture of it.
You should.
But, I always had a job. So at 12, I had a job at the cleaners. And when I turned 13, I had working papers. I got a job at the bagel joint, Bagel Boss out in Long Island. And then while I was in high school, I would open a bagel place in the morning, then go to school, then go close out the other bagel place. And then on the weekends, I worked at a pharmacy.
You were a hustler.
You
You've
know, I
always,
always worked. But, you know, my first love, like you, was drawing. Like
yeah,
sketching was my love. Like
same.
my oldest brother is the artist, like the artist, and he would sculpt and paint and draw and pastels. And I used to watch him and I'd be like, oh my God, I want to be just like Carlos, you
Yeah,
know?
that's my dad. My dad was like that, and his name is Carlos as
Yeah.
well, but a
Look
brilliant
at that.
artist, really talented guy.
Yeah.
So funny. I can't believe it. How did you go from bagels to makeup? What was that transition to
Well,
bagels to makeup? Tell me that.
so I mean, there's a lot. I was into a lot of things since I was little. I was always into the arts, but it was always something that I just had to do for myself, which you can understand because
Mhm.
you're an artist and a musician. So it was always things I never said, oh, I'm gonna go be this, you know, rock star, or I'm gonna go and be this like professional ballet dancer, like because I used to take ballet also, so dance always. It was just things that I needed, I had inside, and I had to get out. And just art for me was something that drawing was my first love, like my first love.
Wow.
So you know, I did that through school. I was super introverted, believe it or not, growing up, and
Really?
so super. And you know, that used to get me a lot of attention, and I hated it. I hated when people would be looking over my shoulder, what are you drawing? Oh, let's watch you draw. Like I used to always have someone over me watching me draw,
Mm.
and I hated it. So but you know, whatever. So from that, I went into learning how to sew because my mom, as a good Latina, you know, you have to know how to clean, cook, and sew. So,
Really?
old school. So I got into that, and I started dressing, you know, since I was always sketching, I would sketch my own designs. I was into fashion design, but I was more into like the illustration part of it. And but also making though, because in high school I had a fashion show. But I would go to the thrift store and buy like all this like old, you know,
Okay.
store, vintage clothes, old stuff. And I would just undo it and remake it with something else.
Oh,
So I would
brilliant.
make my own stuff,
I
you know.
love that.
So that was the part of like, you know, where, you know, I don't even remember back in the 90s, like late 80s, early 90s, like people were into like all the bell bottoms and everything. So at that time I had a fashion show at school.
That's cool. I love
Yeah.
that.
But I played violin all through like school, and I got a full scholarship to play violin.
No kidding.
And yeah, and so in high school I got back into, like I would fall asleep with my violin in my hands, like classical violin. Like I love it. Like there's nothing like playing in a full orchestra to me, you know, because the vibration and the harmonizing and the weight of everything, and you know, just it was so amazing.
I can
And
imagine.
I
That's an
do miss
instrument
that.
that's always fascinated me. I've always thought that was such a beautiful instrument to learn.
It is. And you know, one of my goals is to learn how to play cello. Like that was my real like, oh my God, I want to learn how to play that. But my dad was like, oh, but the violins get the cool solos. And I did it to play to please my dad, you know, when he was here. And but I love it. I love it. So I was first chair for a few years, yeah, in high school. First chair, and I loved it. I loved it. I love classical music. No
Wow.
one would ever guess that from me.
No,
But
but you know what though? That's what's great. I mean, you are multiple layers. There's a lot happening there with you. It's
a
so
lot going
funny.
on.
Like for a person who's an introvert, you get up to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because I never did it. I always did it for myself. It
That's
made me happy. So that's where, you know, with the introvert, like I needed it. That's how I expressed myself,
that's cool. That's
you
very,
know?
very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I went to school for fashion design.
And is that how you transitioned into doing makeup?
Yeah.
Nice. The illustration took you there.
Yeah. The illustration took me there. I went to FIT
Perfect.
for 2 semesters. The first semester I was on campus, and I was like, I can't afford this anymore, you know? So
Yeah.
I pretty much dropped out. Actually, I dropped out of the first semester because I got a job. They had a job board, and I started working for like small showrooms temping. Like I temped at Laundry by Shelly Siegel, and then I temped at Bum Equipment. Do you remember Bum
I
Equipment?
remember that. We're gonna have to like Google images and post this with this
Yeah,
thing.
you gotta post it because
Like,
that's
what are they
all
talking about?
school. And
Wow.
then I landed a job at Carolina Herrera as a receptionist.
How fabulous. That's cool.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, yeah, I know how to do that. Yeah, I know how to do that. And I know how to do that. And I got the job there at the main showroom.
I love
And
that.
yeah, that's how I got into makeup
At Carolina Herrera.
at Herrera.
Tell me that story. What
Okay, so at Herrera, they had in-house PR, and the showrooms were there. So it was the main showroom. Mrs. Herrera's office was there. I had the Andy Warhol. You'll see on my Instagram. I have a posted me answering phones with the Andy Warhol picture of her behind me.
cool.
And um, I would get all the books, and all the castings were done at my desk because we would do the shows and everything. So Showtime was amazing. Like I loved like being part of that and helping out any which way, you know.
Yeah.
Kid, I was like in my a teenager, and all the castings were done at my desk. And I would see the girls, and I, you know, it was just, I loved it. I loved it. And all the books would also come to my desk because, of course, they would shoot campaigns. So you had photography, hair, makeup, set, styling, all those books of like major people would land at my desk when there was books. Like I have my book. Let me show you something.
You still have your book?
I have books here.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I still have mine. I have to look for it. That's amazing.
So
That's
all
cool.
those books would come at my desk and I would flip through them. And, you know, I was really into the makeup books. I never thought of makeup as a form of art.
Sure.
And I was like, of course. And it was like all this creative stuff and the books that I would see. And I was like, wow, this is just like painting. Like, you know, it was cool. It's just a different canvas.
Yeah.
So I would ask makeup artists. And I met Francisco Valera there, and I had asked him. We became friends on the phone because he would always call from Mrs. Herrera. They had a mutual friend, and I would always end up talking to her if she wasn't there, and talking to her, talking to him if she wasn't there. And we became friends. And when he came into the showroom, he's like, "Hi, I'm here to see Mrs. Herrera." Very humble, very sweet. You know, he has that sweet face,
Yeah.
Francisco. And he came in, he was like, "I'm here to see Mrs. Herrera. I'm Francisco Valera." And I'm like, "Oh, Frank, it's me, Carolina," you know.
That's so cool. I love that.
And I just asked him one day, I was like, "Man, you know, I really really love, I think it's so cool. And I love makeup. Like, how did you get into it? Like, where should I start? What should I do? I really love it." And I was just like, I hope he doesn't shoot me down. Cause I had asked other makeup artists, and they totally like would ignore like whatever I asked or
Yeah.
whatever. Like when I started talking about, they were like, I was like, oh, it's like that. All right, whatever. You know, the Latino, because they're like, oh, okay. I was like, I hope he doesn't do that to me because I really like him. And he was like, when I had asked him, he's like, "You're so stupid." He's like, "You should have told me a long time ago. You could be assisting me." And he's like, "But only if you're serious. Only if you're serious, Carolina." And I was like, "Oh my God, yes." I quit. I moved back to Long Island, and I worked for him for free,
Yeah.
you know, for
It's a
free.
learned
Because I
craft.
thought, yeah, nowadays a lot of assistants are like, they won't do jobs unless they're money. You know, I get everyone has to live, but at the same time, for me, I also feel that, you know, it's school. It's free school. You ain't gonna find this. And any academy that you go and you pay for,
Yeah.
you will not learn the dynamics of a set,
Yeah.
the light, you know, everyone's job, how it all comes together, how
Mm.
it really comes together. You don't learn that. And then you also learn like it's the cliff notes on makeup in this, you know, world, because we've through trial and error have learned, you know, I've learned through trial and error because the only person I ever assisted was Francisco. I never assisted anyone else.
Wow.
That was my sole teacher, you
Wow.
know. So, and like now I'm like, God, people, I never thought about it. I never thought about assisting a bunch of people. I never did. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I think that's the best thing that you can do is learn as much as you can from everyone. I mean,
Totally.
and learn. Don't expect, when you start thinking about the money part of it, it kind of like, you know, fucks with it. I would just learn from everyone
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much as I can,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
true. I do think that that's what happens. I do think that that's the normal route now. Most assistants do work with a lot of different people, which I think is very smart
Amazing.
because you're taking the best of what everybody's got. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, I did only seriously assist one hairdresser, and while that was it was like going to Harvard for hair. It was brilliant. I picked up his amazing habits, but I also picked up some of his bad habits, and I found myself having to unlearn some stuff that I was like, I don't want to do that. That's not nice. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I do feel like the kids now working with different people is brilliant. I do think that you're right, though, that sometimes they get too hung up on, well, what's the job for? How much am I getting paid? Which I understand that to a degree, but I also realize for me, some of the stuff that I did or agreed to do without really knowing what it was or not really making a big deal about, just knowing that I wanted to get out there and do stuff, always led to amazing things for me. Oh,
Absolutely. The
yeah,
good and the bad. The
yeah,
good and the bad. You learn from the bad, you
totally.
know?
Totally. Because sometimes you just look at like, I won't be doing that again.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, I know what questions to ask now.
Lesson learned. It's so true.
Exactly.
It's so true.
Exactly.
That's so funny. So, how do you feel about the way things have been now? I mean, the pandemic obviously has made a mess of everything, but just in general, the direction and feel of the industry, you know?
Well, I think that you have to go with the flow
Hmm.
or you get left behind. You have to be open. You always have to be open to new things and you have to make lemonade out of lemons. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know, I've come out of my comfort zone and have been pushed to do things that I would never, I've said never because never say never.
Hmm.
Because guess what? You gonna do it. So, you know, I've been pushed out of my comfort zone to learn other things and to, okay, now I have to, okay, I do have to do like makeup on myself. Like I literally just taught a class on FaceTime. Sorry, it's my daughter going
No,
on.
it's okay. She's
She
keep.
can hear me. She hears me. She's like, why am I not allowed to go down there? So, because she's always up in it and I always let her do whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so, you know, I've always said, you know, I'll never do that. Like, I can't possibly do that to myself. And I have to. And, you know, it's kind of like I've gotten good feedback because people are like, yeah, I always see you make up like, you know, obviously gorgeous young women. It's good
Yeah.
to see women of your age that you can translate that to, you
That
know,
is good. Yeah, that's true.
because mommy's in her mid 40s. You know what I mean?
I love it. Maybe your skin is in your 20s, and we love that.
Oh, this is Luminous Silk, honey. Luminous Silk did this to me. I can't take like
That's
Luminous
so
Silk and one skin. Like there's this one mask that really, because I had
weird.
COVID.
Okay.
I had COVID. So my skin had and you know, I have Lyme's disease, so I'm immune
Oh, I
compromised.
didn't know that.
I had COVID for a pretty long time. I got it really bad from like March to like June.
Wow.
And it really brought out this like autoimmune kind of rash on like my torso, on my face,
Wow.
you know, and there was this one mask that really calmed me down, and it was from 111 Skin. That is like my lifesaver. Like I completely
Wow.
swear by.
That
Like
is
I
good
do it
stuff,
every
actually.
time before and after each time I have to beat my face for like anything. And it really flattens it out, just really evens it out. So that's what's been helping me. But where was I?
Wherever you want to be, baby. I mean, we were
Where?
talking about how
What sign are you again?
you've made. I love it. Who are you?
You know I'm Latina, Walter Mercado of makeup. What sign are you again? When's your birthday?
I love it. You're going crazy. No, we were talking about your transition, how you now are doing things that you wouldn't have done before. You know, like doing it on yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I love how you just totally like, I'm
I
not telling you my sign.
oh no. That's true. I don't buy into all that stuff. I'm sorry. I know that a lot of people love that whole whatchamacallit, but I feel like I don't buy it. But no, you were saying, and I do think there's value to what you were just saying. There is you this has pushed us to go into areas that we normally would not have done,
Absolutely.
like you're a professional. There's no way that I could have imagined you a few years ago. Now it's completely accepted, but a few years ago, being on YouTube or on Instagram doing your own makeup when you're
Yeah.
going every day to shoot on these amazing sets with these gorgeous girls, and like
Yeah.
that's the world that we lived in, right? But now, not only is it acceptable, but people want to see it. Like you said, they want
Yeah.
to see like
Well, I think they just want to learn. They want to learn. They love seeing it. And I can understand. Like, I love seeing the beautiful editorials and everything, but also I want to learn how that translates to myself,
Yeah,
you know? And I also want to know what you're using, how you use it.
that's the mood
You know
now.
what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think it's important. I think it's important to teach people and give them that knowledge. I
yeah,
think it's important um, because everyone's going to do it their way as well. Some people are get stuck in the part of like, oh, giving my tricks away. I don't care about that.
yeah,
You ask me, I'll tell you. You know what I mean? Everyone translates it in their own way,
yeah.
you know? And I think it's just good to just, pass the baton or just give knowledge. You know what I mean?
I agree. I used to be really funny about that. Not necessarily my tricks, but especially I was doing a job for, what was the brand? It was a big brand. I won't say it because I don't want to. I know you have contracts with people, and I don't want to name competitors or anything. But
No,
like,
of course we can.
but we were doing a thing, and the subject was one of these Instagram girls. She was the person that they were, and we were doing her hair and makeup, and there was a professional makeup artist with me. And as the guy is doing his stuff, she's like, "What's this? How do you do that? What's this?" And he's telling her everything. And a part of me was like, "Bro, you worked for years to get to where you are.
Yeah.
Don't just give the whole everything away." But he said something similar to what you said, and I think he was right. He goes, "I could literally physically show her how to do all this, and she won't do it the same way
100%.
that I do it." Everybody
Yeah,
brings their own flavor to it. Everyone brings
absolutely.
thing, and sometimes it's pretty cool to show people. Like you've seen this like on Fashion Week or whatever when you have assistants. I could show 20 kids how to do the exact same hairdo, and they'll all do it entirely different. And
Yeah.
some of them are like, "That's awesome," and others you're like, "Were you listening to anything that I said?" That is terrible. But it's okay. That's part of their journey and their whatever too. But you're right. It's cool
Yeah.
to share, and it's cool to like to open it up to people and let them figure it out.
Absolutely, because I think that I'm very much about just letting go and just
Mm,
sharing. And, I think it's important to give back and to give that knowledge because it only brings you good things.
yeah,
When you get all misery and shit, sorry,
that's
when
okay.
you do,
That's okay. No, but it's true.
you don't grow.
Yeah, greedy people
You
never
don't
get
grow.
anywhere. Greedy
No, you
people
don't
never
grow. You need
It's
to grow. You need to grow. And
yeah,
I learn a lot from everyone, from everyone, people who are just starting to people who are super seasoned. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I even go on YouTube and I'll like Google things and I'll watch people and I'm just like, that is a different way of doing it. No, let me try it. I still learn all the time, every
yeah.
day.
I love that. You're right. And you should be that way. Honestly, one, life would be so boring and your job would be so boring if you already knew how to do everything exactly.
Yeah, and no one ever knows everything.
And no one ever knows everything. And if you work with somebody who is like, "I already know how to," they're like, "I don't want to work with you." It's not a fun
Yeah,
energy to be around, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Because like you said, even when we're on those sets, there's
But
so,
you still even
oh, sorry.
Yeah, and you still even learn from those people because you're like, okay, I never want an aura like
I don't want to have that
that.
energy. I don't want to be,
Yeah,
yeah, you're
I
right.
never want to say that. Or I
Yeah,
never want, you always learn, you just flip it,
you're right.
you
You're
know?
absolutely right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Even the bad things are valuable to learn from. Oh, that's
Yeah. And I'm going to say, like, the one thing, and I'm going to quote Bruce Lee,
love it.
you got to be water, baby. You got to be water.
Yeah.
Be water. Yes.
It's true. That's true. He did say something on how it's like fluid,
Yeah.
it's
He said,
strong.
be water. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
You got
cool.
to go with it. Yeah.
That's a good way to live your life and to guide your career, especially during times that feel really tumultuous and weird and kind of crazy. Like I feel,
Yeah, the thing is that the best advice I could give you in the industry and in your life, period, life advice and business advice and any advice is that you you gotta go with it. You gotta go with the flow. You can only control a certain situation in a certain up to a certain extent, and then you just gotta let it go. You have to let go. You have to let go. You
yeah,
can't be too in control. You can't be in control of everything.
yeah,
You can only be control, of like basically your actions, but what's going on globally, even in COVID, it's like a certain extent, you just got to let it happen.
yeah, yeah. Be open to whatever's coming your way.
Yeah.
It's funny. That leads me to my next question. You've touched on that a little bit already, but like you have the kind of career that other people look at and go, "Oh my God, the stuff that she's doing is amazing." What would your advice be to young artists, whether they're makeup or hair or photography, whatever, but to people starting out in the industry now who want to get into it? Like, what would you advise them?
Well, I would shoot as much as possible because right now we're in a different age. So you have Instagram as well.
Yeah.
And even for us, I say it, like I can't wait for people to give me a job anymore. I have to like make, if they don't see me in a certain way, I have to make them see me. You can make people see you whichever way you want them to see you.
That's a good way to
You
put it.
know, sometimes people are right now, we're living also in an age that's very lazy.
Hmm.
So they're lazy to like, let's say like sell you to a certain thing or see you in a certain way or been like, no, she's good just for like natural, or no, she only does this. You can show your whole range, you can show anything, you just make, get your lights and do it, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that for kids, just do it, just do everything, do everything any which way, get creative, um shoot on yourself, shoot on your friends, or just practice as much as you can, learn from as many people as you can, get on YouTube and watch as many people as you want to watch, but also assist as many people as you can,
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
or just yeah, I would say assist as many people as you can. Just assist. Just, just also, if you're not getting the opportunity, whether you're calling people or whatever, and no one's really giving you that shot, then just start doing it on yourself. Do grab your people, just start making people see you a certain way. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. That's excellent advice, actually. I have to say, you're right. Never before has everyone had the tools at their disposal to present themselves to the world in whatever fashion they want to be seen.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. You just said it
I love it.
eloquently.
I wrapped
Mama's
it
just
up.
like scatterbrained. I'm mom brain. I'm still mommy brain.
Put a nice little bow on that. No,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true, though.
perfect.
It's true. You're right. Because it's so funny. On the one hand, I'm so old school that when all of this started to come up, I was annoyed by it. Like, I was like,
Yeah, you
"You gotta
can't
stop
be. You
posting things."
can't be. You got to go with it. You know what? You got to see the bright side of it and be like, you know
Yes,
what? That's a good idea. I'm
it
gonna do
is.
that too.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. It is because there are a lot of people who don't have our history, our work. Forget. Now, I'm going to say I'm not going to put myself in your category. Your category.
No,
You are
no.
such an and it's such a rarefied air. You do such amazing stuff that to have any makeup artist, there are very few makeup artists that can say that they work at the level and stuff that you do. And so for you to be able to promote that, push that out there, and be in your basement at home teaching people how to like that, you can do
True. We're in
both.
the
It's amazing.
basement.
It's incredible. It's so cool.
Well,
Yeah.
work is scarce right now.
Yeah.
And I never see myself as this person who's had this like career or anything because I never like, it's crazy because I never go back and I'm like, oh wow, I did all of that. I never do. I just keep looking forward.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next? Okay, what we, you know what I mean? I've never seen myself like that because I always think there's always more. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
you can do.
That's
That I still haven't. Like right now, I'm really really desiring to just get back into my creative juices and remember those shoots that you would just create editorial and all this stuff, and I'm really longing to do that. And so I've literally just spoke, because my husband knows how to shoot. He does like all these car shoots and stuff, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get him out of his comfort zone and let's start doing some photo shoots because he knows a lot about locations and things, and we even have a small RV right now. And I'm like, let's get the RV,
wow.
let's get a girl, or even like one of my girlfriends or whatever, let's do something more, because right now everyone, you don't have to be perfect to like shoot someone, you can shoot everyone. It's
Yeah.
all like showcase everyone.
It's so true.
So I'm like trying to organize that right now, and I'm not waiting for the editorials. I'm not waiting for anyone anymore. You
That's
know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you can't sit there and wait. Like just get up and get it going.
I love that.
Start doing whatever you want to do. And it's also like in an art form, it doesn't have to be essentially like, oh, we need to show the designer on you, we need to shoot this. Let's
Yeah.
get creative. Like back in the day, like a lot of stylists used to just make something out of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like JJ, do you remember JJ Farr?
Yeah.
Jason Clark.
Oh,
Like Jason is killer. Like he would make
yeah.
anything out of anything. And I mean, he's working still, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
He's huge, but like, oh, I used to admire like just watching him,
Yeah.
like just create some crazy stuff,
Yeah, just doing
you
some
know?
wild stuff. It's so
Yeah.
funny. You're right about that. And that's good advice for anyone, no matter what, no matter where they are in the industry. Because
Yeah.
you're right. It's so different now. You can't stand around waiting for somebody to call you when in reality, you just need to be not flooding everybody with images because sometimes it can
Yeah.
get to be a little much. But if you're regularly just putting out creative stuff
Yeah.
for people to get excited about,
Yeah.
to get into, and to be like, oh my goodness, look at her, she's still doing this stuff and she's doing all that. But then people are like, okay, you're busy and
Yeah.
you're doing something. Yeah, it's
Yeah. And what
otherwise out of sight, out of mind. People will forget about you.
exactly. And you have to kind of like be out there. But I'm thinking more past that. Like it doesn't even matter, what anyone is thinking or what they're like, oh, she's still working. I just want to do things that fill me.
Mm.
And I think when you do things that fill you, and maybe that's not the way you say it, because in Spanish you say me llena. So I'm saying fill you. So,
No, but I get that. I get that. That
but
sustain you or that make you feel satisfied.
yeah, that's just art because in what we do, like hair and makeup, we don't always need any clothing or anything. We can just
Make it
create something
beautiful.
cool and rad and shoot it on a Polaroid or shoot it on your phone or whatever and just, natural light, whatever, I mean, we can always create something
True.
that's just cool. And I think that it's like painting a canvas, you're creating art, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as long as you're like doing that and you're happy with it, it doesn't matter what anyone else is thinking.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about what everyone else was thinking. I was never thinking about like, oh, I'm not doing that job, or I'm not doing this job. You know what I mean? I think now with social media, it gets into that because it's so in your face that this one's working, that one's working. But with me in this business, I never thought about anyone.
That's good
I
though. I
never
love
did.
that.
I always had like my blinders on, and
Yeah.
I didn't even know like certain players that were really important in this business. I didn't even know who they were. I
Mhm.
just was, I
Doing it.
had that tunnel vision of just doing what I had to do,
Yeah.
you know? I
I
never was like, oh, why am I not doing that job? Or why am I not this? I would be like, oh, can we call them and can we call this? And, and then just, I never did. And I want to go back to that,
I like
you
that.
know?
I think that's a better way to exist. It's because you can drive yourself crazy no matter how successful you are. If you get caught up in what everybody's doing or what everybody's saying, it drives you nuts. It's not a healthy way to
Yeah.
live. I was talking to one.
No, it's not. And with the new, this new world of ours, it did for a moment, like did have an effect on me and like certain people in the business. And I have Lyme disease. I didn't even know that I had it.
Mhm.
And then, my mom passed away, my dad passed away, and I had like this huge like come to Jesus moment, they
Mhm.
call it, right?
Yeah,
With my daughter too, and where I almost like lost my life as well. And I just was like, what am I doing? I never was like this. I never cared. Like I let it all go. I'm like, I don't like, I have a different, like I'm back to like what Carolina
yeah.
was and how she thought to begin
Wow.
with.
Yeah,
So I can't like get myself involved in like, why am I not, because you're stressing. Don't stress. You got to like let it go. You have to be, it's so important to really be in the moment and be present in the moment. They teach you that in acting, like be in the moment. That's how you are an actor. You're in that moment. So it's the same thing with life. You have to be present,
hmm
not thinking about the past because the past is the past. You
hmm
can't, leave that,
yeah,
you know, be
yeah,
in the present, be in the present and take it day by day, moment by moment, especially now.
yeah. I love that. That is spectacular advice. That is
Yeah,
really
and
good.
making the most of every moment. And I'm going to quote Will Smith, but he did say, like, in one of his interviews, that he always thinks about like, how can I make the most of this moment? How can I make it even more magical? Like, what can I take from it? And he tries every moment of his day to make it the most of it as the day goes. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's a great way to live your life. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 so much better because instead of being caught up in what happened or anxious about what might happen, you can get so caught up in those two things that you're not
Yeah.
thinking about what is happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, this said what exactly what I wanted to
I love it. Between the two, I'll be a
you
translator
know,
for the
we're
world.
like we're like Key and Peele. You ever see the Key and Peele? Do you know who they are? Like when you
That's
have
true. The
Obama the
president.
translator. Obama.
I love that skit. It's so funny.
That's me and you right now. That's what we're doing right now.
I love it. So I'm the Obama. Perfect.
Okay, yes. Yeah, exactly.
That is
Exactly.
so hilarious. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
mean,
I love to laugh, as you know. Like I love to laugh. I
I
have to
know.
laugh. I have to make
I know.
light of everything and find the humor and the light in everything. You know, I do.
I love that about you. And that's a wonderful, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I do think that's one of the keys to your success is that you are such a wonderful person to be around and you do have such a gracious and loving energy, you know? But I also think on top of the fact that your work is beautiful and amazing, you're every bit as beautiful a person as your work is. So that's why I think you've done so well over the years and why you'll
Thank you,
continue to do so.
baby.
I'm not worried
Thank
about you
you.
at all. You're great.
I'm
Carolina,
glad someone's not worried about me.
I love it. I mean, low key, I'm worried about all of us, but but like, I always feel like because you do think the way that you do, you create the way that you do, you think the way that you do. And that's why I wanted so much to showcase to have you on this because your not just your work, but your perspective is, I think, has led to you being such a successful person and someone worth looking at and learning lessons from. I feel
Thanks.
like, you know what I mean? I
Thank
mean, like I said, and
you.
we go way back. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I don't even know. We were kids. I just remember I just remember always hearing people asking me if we were related.
It's so
Like, are you
freaking
guys related?
racist.
You kind of look it's super racist, but it's also very funny. I was like, no, they're like, well, you look like brother and sister, and she's really. I was like, I wish she looks amazing, but
Oh, we do. Well, maybe we do look a little like related. I could see you being one of my brothers,
well,
you
we're
know.
both really good looking, so I'm gonna go with
Which
that.
brings me to
That's what I'm
that
taking.
telenovela face you have.
All right, that is the best compliment I've ever received. I'm just gonna let you know. She said, "Hang on, how did you put it?" She goes, "Oh yeah, you got a face for telenovelas." Right?
Yeah, you have a telenovela face.
I love it. If
You
this
love it.
doesn't work out, I'm going to work on my Spanish and become an actor in Latin America.
That's what I said. I said, do you speak Spanish? She said, no, my face does.
That's what it was. That's true. I don't speak Spanish, but my face does. I got to work on it.
But you have that, you have that telenovela face. You have to be like handsome. You
The
have to
eyebrow.
have that charisma. You have to have the eyebrow.
The eyebrow. The eyebrow sells it.
The eyebrows, everything. Dos
Oh
caminos.
my God. Carolina, you are amazing.
David Cruz.
David
En
Cruz. I got to
dos
work on it.
caminos.
And my name is Carlos. I'll be unstoppable. Oh, thank you for doing
That
this
could be
for
a
me.
stage name.
You
Carlos
are a
Cruz.
goddess.
Carlos Cruz.
Carlos
En
Cruz.
dos caminos.
Yes. I'm ready. Is this Caminos a TV show? I thought that was just
No,
a.
I just made it.
Oh, I was like, isn't that a restaurant in
I just made
Soho?
it up. It has to be that, like.
I love it. Oh my God, you're amazing. Thank you so much for doing
You're
this. I really
amazing.
appreciate it. You're a goddess.
Thank you for having me. What are you crazy?
Oh my God, no way. I can't wait for people to see this. They're gonna be like, I have to have that woman in my life.
They're gonna be like, that woman is crazy.
I love it. You are spectacular.
I
Thank
love you. Thanks
you.
for having me, babe. Thank you.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.